We don't sit down and think this through. This is the subconscious brain taking all sorts of background information and deciding on a level where, okay, I'm comfortable here. This is my safety zone. This is where I want to be in this aspect of life. Are you ready to live your best life, make healthy choices, have success, have fun, and still have time for everything else? I'm here to teach you how to do that, and we'll all learn together from guests along the way as well. Follow along for some powerful tips on cultivating gratitude, making healthy choices for mind and body, and having fun doing it. What if all the angst and worry actually don't help? Oh my goodness, let's keep learning how to do this differently. OMG, welcome my friends. Here we are in episode 5. So we have been talking about gratitude for the last 2 weeks, and now we're going to jump a few steps earlier to something most of us struggle with, for which gratitude and appreciation are a solution. Remember, we talked about how our brains want to avoid danger and stay in the safety zone. I was just reading a Forbes article about this the other day, and we're talking today about the ULP, or the upper limit problem. And the upper limit problem is the mechanism of self-sabotage. It's our subconscious way to stay in our safe zone. So, believe it or not, feeling good for long stretches of time, if we're not used to that, feels strange and maybe even dangerous. It feels vulnerable. Oh my goodness, this is all so great, but I could lose it all. That's crazy. So we worry, we hide, we sit in confusion, we tell ourselves we're stuck, and we gradually make our way back to the safe zone of average levels of success, average levels of happiness, whatever the issue is, where we know how to operate. So we're talking the ULP, the upper limit problem. Let's see if I can give you some stories and some analogies that will help you to recognize this, because as always, you know I say recognizing it is the first step. Then we're going to talk about what we can do. Have you ever told yourself not to get too happy about something because the other shoe is going to drop? The other shoe dropping is a ULP. Or have you ever wondered why in certain areas of your life you seem to self-sabotage at every turn? It might be because you're hitting your ULP. Now remember, I am not a professional mental health counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist. This is all stories that I hope will help you. If you are struggling with mental health issues, please see a professional. There's so many out there who can help you. And at the same time, for all of us, I think that understanding this and understanding how it affects our behavior is just so powerful. Okay, the ULP means basically this. Our brains have a setting where we feel comfortable with that amount of happiness, success, health, many aspects of life, relationships. We have a setting that is like a thermostat setting. So let's think about that just for a moment. The thermostat in your house probably works like mine does, which means I set it at a temperature. That's the temperature that I am happy and comfortable with in the house. So if the house starts to go up higher than that temperature on a warm day, the air conditioning kicks on, it brings it back down to that temperature that I set. If the house starts to go below that temperature on a cool day, the heat kicks on, it brings it back up to the temperature I set. This is exactly what your upper limit problem, and it's weird to call it a problem maybe, I'm going to keep saying ULP in general. This is exactly what it is. You have a thermostat setting, and so do I, for your professional success, for your relationship situation, for your income, for your health and fitness, for every aspect of your life. And it's not like we sit down one day and we say, let me make a list of my upper limit for every aspect of my life. If we did that, I hope we'd put it higher. We don't sit down and think this through. This is the subconscious brain taking all sorts of background information and deciding on a level where, okay, I'm comfortable here. This is my safety zone. This is where I want to be in this aspect of life. So let's take it from thermostat into some actual life examples. Let's talk about work. I work in a job, in a professional scenario. So I have done this a little bit to myself and I have seen this happen. Think about the level you have in your job. If you work in a professional environment, are you an analyst? Have you always wanted to be the manager? Are you a manager? Have you always wanted to be the VP? Are you a VP? You always wanted to be the CEO? Whatever. Do you ask about jobs? Do you apply for the higher level jobs? Do you take action to really go for those higher level jobs? Do you put yourself out there, make sure your name is known? Or do you kind of feel dissatisfied and a bit complainy about the level you're in at your job? You don't really want to be staying there. You feel a bit stuck, but you're not really taking any action to change it. So think about that. You might have hit your ULP. Another example is lottery winners. Now, I wish this weren't the case, and I'm not going to be able to give you the exact source, but you could look it up. There's some high percentage of lottery winners who within a few years are exactly back to the economic situation that they were in before they won the lottery. And think about it this way. You get this massive influx of money as a lottery winner, and your brain isn't ready to self-identify as a millionaire or whatever the amount of money was. And so it's exciting and you enjoy it. And somewhere along the way, not everyone, but people who have a strong ULP regarding income are going to make mistakes, are going to kind of shoot themselves in the foot, self-sabotage, and they're going to lose or just spend the money and end up back where they were. It happens all the time. That's the ULP. Let's take a health example. If you are someone who wants to lose weight, if you do some type of program and you lose a lot of weight fairly quickly, it often, for a lot of people, again, not everyone, it often comes back on more quickly than you hoped it would. And a lot of times that is because deep down, you most likely have a set point weight. And yes, I know that health and medical professionals talk about that. I mean a mental set point weight that you're going to get yourself back to whatever it takes. Now, there are medical and health reasons for gradual weight loss. Again, see your health professional about that. But there are also mental reasons. You need to allow your ULP to grow gradually to see yourself as a healthier and healthier person, or you will self-sabotage and end up back where you started. That was the thermostat setting. Now, maybe you're an entrepreneur. Let's talk about business. For me, I started my network marketing business 12 years ago, almost on a whim, to be honest. I felt trapped as a teacher. And I will say, I loved teaching. Teaching and training is still my number one skill set, but I also saw it making me bitter. The bureaucracy, the tough parts were not affecting me in a way that I wanted them to in the long term. I wanted choices. I wanted to be able to decide whether I would keep doing that or not. And I didn't feel I had that. So multiple incomes means choices. I decided to jump in. Now, my company has 4 different pay levels, which is a pretty simple structure, actually. I blasted quickly through the first to the second within the first year. Now, even at the second of 4 levels, that put me in the top 20% of all independent consultants in my company. And then, oh my goodness, did my ULP kick in. Within 2 weeks after I promoted to that second level, my entire team of business partners quit. And it was for various reasons. So I hung in there for a few months, but I lost my promotion. I went back down to the first level. I worked on my mindset. This is where I started to learn things about mindset that I'm now sharing with you. I worked on growth. I worked on vision. I promoted again to the second level with a new group of customers and business partners and went along okay for a while, but then I lost the level again. Various things happen. It's hard to even see the exact problem now, to be honest. This has been a number of years ago, but I was determined I'm going to do this again. I'm going going to learn new ways. I met new people. I grew again. I promoted again. Now I had grown my ULP enough to stay at that second level. Hey, the third time was a charm. So I started eyeing the third level. I helped someone on my team to get to the second level. I helped many to get to the first level. We were in motion. I began the process of promoting to the third level, but I missed it. We couldn't finish all the requirements. I picked myself up. I learned some more mindset. I learned some more growth. I learned some more techniques. I began the process again, and again, I missed it. And the second time I was slower to pick myself up. But I do see and know the power of mental growth and study. That's why I'm here doing this podcast for you. So I continued learning a new mindset. I started to grow again. Life happened. For quite a number of months, I lost focus. So clearly, my ULP is sitting right below this third level of business. Why? Well, I'm not sure how much it helps us to try to figure out why. We need a general idea of what's going on, but if you are kind of an analytical thinker the way I am, it's a little risky to spend too much time in the why don't I have what I want stuff, because the more we push our thought focus onto that, the more our brain's going to find answers to why we don't have what we want. And we don't really, if you think about it, we don't really want those answers. We just want to move forward. So for me, I'm pretty sure that avoiding the spotlight is something in there. I may have even had some lingering questions about the business being something I can do or should do. I mean, it's silly to even say because I don't think I really think that, but it's in there. So stay tuned really soon for an episode about the resistance we have to our dreams. I'm bringing a guest on and you're going to love it. So what I did is recognized, wow, I think I just found my ULP. I forgive myself because it is always the right thing to be kind to yourself. And then I say, okay, let's see what we can do. So just know I'm right there with you. We live in an online social media world. For me, it's having a landing page for this podcast, having a cool link in bio for my business Instagram, and having a resources website for my social selling team. Just having a place to put information, links, recommendations, and even celebration. I was thrilled when I found Boss Lady Bio. You can create a website that looks gorgeous and you don't have to know how to code. Have a look at what they offer at omgteachme.onamission.bio. You can even try it for free. Now, where does this come from, the ULP that everybody has in certain areas of your life? Well, it's from a lot of things that happened to us when we were young. Things we saw, things we heard. We may not even realize it, but when we are young, we either recognize things that legitimately other people in our lives use to hold themselves back and we decide to do the same, or we even misinterpret something that was never meant to be that way at all, but we make it mean that we need to hold back. It could have been an adult's body language when you did something better than your siblings or your neighbors. It could have been a phrase that someone said, and maybe they weren't even talking to you or about what you thought they were. Such innocuous things. It could have been something you heard a lot. Money doesn't grow on trees. Don't get your hopes up. Money is the root of all evil. There's so many sayings like that that we choose to allow to hold ourselves back. Maybe you heard someone tell you about an idea you had and say, oh my goodness, you could never do that. What makes you think you could do that? And maybe they were just thinking about the practical issues that you knew you could solve, but you internalized it. It could have even been something you read or heard on TV. Those things all combine together to create our thermostat setting, basically. And sometimes we're really tough on ourselves, saying to ourselves, well, you couldn't possibly deserve this much success or this much happiness. You couldn't possibly deserve this much income. You're not good enough. You don't deserve it. We unconsciously then do something to bring ourselves back down to the thermostat setting, especially if we make a huge leap in one area of our lives, whether it's relationship or money or job or health and wellness, fitness, whatever. If we make a huge leap in one area, then often one or two things happen. We end up just with this paralyzing fear. Maybe suddenly you've become so fit and you never thought of yourself that way. It takes a long time for your brain to start seeing yourself yourself that way. And so maybe you're worried about going out in public and dressing differently or doing different activities. Maybe you feel like people are staring at you, and probably none of that is true. Or maybe you have guilt about some success that you've had, and maybe you are feeling like you shouldn't show to other people the success you have because maybe it'll make them feel bad. And so you hide. You don't take the action that you could. We will change our actions without realizing it to prevent staying at that higher level of success, to move ourselves back down to the thermostat setting. And we have a million ways to justify this, and a lot of times we won't even catch ourselves. Maybe we'll create an argument in some relationship that's going well, or we'll stop ourselves from enjoying something that we received because of our success, or we'll lose money on an idea that wasn't really thought through. So many things that in hindsight, maybe this is where the saying hindsight is 20/20 comes from. In hindsight, we can see what we did, but in the moment it is hard to recognize. However, we need to flip this around for a second before I get too dire, because you've been listening to me for a little while and maybe now you're thinking, oh my goodness, all I feel is bad. Why is she talking about this? The ULP actually can help you achieve greatness if you can set it high in areas of your life. This also does happen. So have you ever heard of business people who have lost it all? They were struggling. They went bankrupt. Their company seemed like it was not going to make it. I could name off the top of my head names of companies that just almost died out. And then suddenly they seem to be successful again out of nowhere with something new. Or suddenly it just turns around and maybe you don't know the inside story. You don't know how the turnaround happened. Well, most likely the turnaround could have happened in a million ways, but they had a high ULP related to that area of their life. The bankruptcy or the failure of the business was not their thermostat setting. Their thermostat setting was much higher with great success. So they said, okay, well, this doesn't make any sense. Here we go again. I'm doing it. And they picked themselves up and they started again, and they did not stop until they were back where their personal ULP told them they should be. So it can be a good thing. If we can grow that ULP, it can pull us, and sometimes we don't even realize it. Now, I saw this with my daughter and her college admissions, and she told me I could tell this story to you, so don't worry. We had, when she was in high school, visited NYU in New York, in Manhattan, and she just felt this fit there with the city. She loves the city of New York. They had exactly the major she was looking for. She just loved the school, all of it. Now, that school is a very tough one to get into. And so she applied to many other places. She was considering a couple of different majors. Obviously, when you are a senior in high school, you are dealing with so many decisions. You're trying to figure things out, and you may not even really know. She says now she really saw and believed herself there at NYU in New York. It was as if she just saw her life and she knew that's what was happening. Her subconscious mind didn't see any other option. It was part of her self-image and her identity. Her ULP was sitting right there, NYU student, and then she was waitlisted. And at first, oh my goodness, of course, this is terribly upsetting. This is a disaster, massive disappointment. But we're all mature humans. She picked herself up. We went with her. We investigated her second and third choice. We visited the second choice. We bought the t-shirt. She made the decision to go there. We announced it on social media. We put the sticker on the car for her second choice. And still, as her parents, we could tell she wasn't quite identifying with it. She was 75% in. She was going through the motions, as you do. In hindsight, she sees that she still believed herself to be an NYU student. It was almost as if she couldn't understand what was happening because it didn't fit with her self-definition. So also, this is an example of what we talked about in episode 1, seeing the goal achieved now. She just saw it. So this was her ULP. This is where her thermostat setting was. Now, if her ULP had been, oh my gosh, that's way too hard, I wouldn't be able to get into a selective school, maybe she wouldn't have even tried. Maybe she would have completely done this differently. And that, of course, is the issue for a lot of people as well. She would have self-sabotaged her application or her essays or her recommendations, or she would have forgotten a piece. We all know either we've done it or we know people who have done it. And it's because the ULP didn't really allow for that level of success. Okay, well, what happened with her story? Within a few weeks of getting the waitlist decision and deciding on her second choice for college, she was accepted to NYU in the exact major she wanted. Her reaction was pretty fascinating. Her reaction was a combination of thrilled, of course, and also not totally surprised. And that's when we understood this was her ULP. She was going to find a way to get to that thermostat setting. And yes, she's there. And yes, it's fabulous. So think about the thermostat again. When there's a sudden change in temperature and the thermostat kicks the heat or the cooling system on, it is working hard to get the temperature back to where it belongs. I'm saying that in air quotes. Some systems even allow you to set a range of temperatures, and it will use either heat or cool to stay within that range. That's the ULP. You're going to self-sabotage, or you're going to do amazing work to keep yourself within the range that is your ULP, your self-identity. So what can we do? I have 2 suggestions for you. Number 1, when you get in a situation that you're feeling fear about, feeling nerves about, I want you to try to get yourself to take big, easy breaths. Feel the fear, allow it to flow through, allow yourself to feel it. Take a big breath in and then blow out the big breath. Imagine the fear leaving your body. Big breath in, big breath out, big easy breaths. Gradually, you can turn that fear into excitement. You can turn it a bit positive and you can allow your body to settle. It's that nervous system that needs to settle. This comes from the book, The Big Leap. And the concept of the ULP comes from Gay Hendricks, the author of The Big Leap. So I will definitely put that in the show notes for you. Now, same source, how are we going to expand and grow our ULP? Are we stuck forever for the rest of our lives at this level of success in whatever area we're talking about? Well, no, you're not stuck. It takes practice, and the key is to expand in small increments. Practice, both with action and with mindset and visualizing. So, for example, allow yourself to enjoy what you have. Allow yourself to enjoy the income you have, the job you have, the friends you have, the love you feel, the creativity you're expressing in the world. Allow yourself to enjoy it. That's appreciation and gratitude. Believe it or not, that is gradually going to expand your ULP, because what we have to teach ourselves is that it's okay to be happy, and it's even better to be even more happy. We want to grow the potential. We want to grow our comfort level with feeling fantastic. So think about what this means. We can finally reach this happiness goal in whatever area of life we're thinking about by fully enjoying what we have now. Freaky. I love it because we can all do it. So let's wrap this back around to the practical examples I started with. Let's say that you want a promotion in your job and you're feeling a bit stuck. Okay, so start picturing yourself with that job. Enjoy that picture. Allow it to feel like the norm. Take small actions to be noticed at work. Work with more people. Prioritize really well. And enjoy what you're doing right now. Start looking for opportunities to talk about the future with people at your work. Look for openings and apply. It's so simple, but we don't always do it. Keep letting yourself feel like this is the norm. Keep going even if the first opportunity doesn't work out. I used to apply to so many things when I was in a previous job. Have an open mind as to what will be right and keep practicing. All right, let's take health. Now, the easiest example is weight loss, but this could be also starting a new exercise habit, trying to get more fit. We're going to use weight loss as an example, but you'll get what I'm saying. Pick a few things that are going to change and make sure that you can live with that and be happy enough. Meaning this, decide how you're going to exercise, decide how you're going to eat, decide a few habits you're going to change in order to have this weight loss, and make sure you can live with it and be happy. It's not about starving yourself or making it so difficult to keep up with or always being in pain. In fact, my sister told me years ago, back when I wasn't that focused on health and fitness and she was naturally more fit than me, you might have heard she played all the sports. We talked about that in the walking episode 2. She told me that I needed to have a mental picture and maybe an actual vision board, real picture of myself at the weight and level of fitness that I wanted to be. Now, I poo-pooed this at first. This was a long time ago and I didn't really get or subscribe to mindset as a powerful thing. And if I could only go back and just smack myself in the head back then, I would do it. But here we are. So I rolled my eyes eyes, I poo-pooed this idea, but somehow it stuck with me. And as I think about it, that might have been the first inkling I had that thought and mindset and vibration and vision could become such a powerful thing. If I recall correctly, I started actually asking myself, what do I want to look like? What size do I want to wear? I'm tall and I'm kind of sturdy in bone structure. So for example, I do not want to be a size 0. That is not the goal. I would look emaciated. So have you ever decided actually what you want, how you want to look? What physical activities, from walking to hiking to marathons to sports to gym habits, that you actually want to do? Try thinking about that and seeing it. Practice seeing it and feel good about it. See yourself doing these amazing things, wearing this size. Feel good about it and grow that gradually. You are growing your ULP, and you will look back after a while and be amazed. I promise. You're growing to a new set point, you might say. Now, relationships. We could talk about this with relationships as well. I don't pretend to be a relationship guru by any stretch. I'm usually focused on mindset related to business and health. But that said, of course, this is a key aspect of a happy and healthy life. All types of relationships, they matter. So maybe we need an episode on that too. If you have a ULP when it comes to finding a happy group of friends or being in a happy couple relationship, maybe you find yourself always with the same type of guy or same type of girl, the same issues, you can actually change this as well gradually. Allow yourself to see yourself in a happy relationship. Decide what that would actually look like. See it. I would go so far as to say, make a list. Practice believing that this is what you deserve. Feel happy to have it already. Then put yourself out there. Do small things that move you forward. Keep practicing and keep envisioning. If I were to wrap this up in a simple way, I will say we all have a thermostat setting for the amount of success, for our weight, for our health, for our business success, our income. We have a thermostat setting that we will unconsciously keep ourselves at unless we take action to grow that towards bigger success and more happiness. And you can envision it, feel good about it, practice. You can grow it. Let me know how it goes. I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode. OMG, I would be so honored if you would take a moment, leave a rating, and leave a review. Let's get this message out further into the world. Make sure you've subscribed as well, and why not grab a screenshot and share it on your social media. Now it's time to head down to the show notes and see the resources I mentioned. Go find what you love.